Buena Vista Lagoon Joint Powers Committee. I'd like to ask staff to call roll.
Councilmember Shin,
Present.
Committee Member Stimmel, Mayor Blackburn,
Present.
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
And for the record, Councilmember Eric,
No, it's actually
I'm sorry.
Jimmy Figueroa.
yes, is absent, and as also Kelly Devaney.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mayor Blackburn, could you please lead us?
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda are comments from the audience. These are comments on items not on the agenda this morning. Do we have any requests to speak?
We have no request to speak.
All right. So item number 3 is approval of minutes from the prior meeting, and that is from May 20th of last year. And I believe we do not have to have been present, right?
Move.
Could have-
Motion.
Yes,
So, yeah, correct. So if you've watched the meeting, you can also vote on the minutes.
thank you. So we have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 20th meeting. And,
Second.
okay, we've got a second. Please, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. New business, item number 4, is approve Buena Vista Lagoon Joint Powers Committee 2025 meeting calendar. And I believe we have a slide for that? Yes.
Good morning, committee members. I'm Nick Stupin. I'm the Parks Planning Manager for the City of Carlsbad. I'm joined by my counterpart, Jeremy Timberlake from City of Oceanside, who is the Coastal Zone Administrator. Today's first item is going to, for your review, is going to be a meeting calendar, time and date for these upcoming meetings. Today's meeting is a special meeting due to the fact that we do not have an adopted calendar. So the recommended action before you today is to select a Buena Vista Lagoon Joint Powers Committee meeting time and adopt a meeting calendar for 2025. There's one option before you today. We did one option because last time we went forward with looking at our calendars and schedules, it was quite a tight loop that we had to thread here, and we felt that this was agreed upon before, and this was a good solution for the committee. So the current option here is to meet quarterly on the 4th Thursday, alternating locations between the City of Carlsbad and City of Oceanside Council Chambers at 9 a.m.
All right, does that work for everybody? Oh, we do have Councilmember Jimmy Figueroa's aide in the audience. Do you know if that'll work? The answer is yes. So we need a motion then?
So again, yeah, the recommended action would be to select that date and to approve the time and date of the calendar for 2025.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote, and that is, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say nay. Sounds like motion passes. And that was faster than the last discussion that we had on this, as I recall. All right, the next subsection on there is dissolution of Lagoon Enhancement Project Ad Hoc Committees with an S.
Very good. I appreciate that, Madam Mayor. So again, yes, this next item is going to be for the recommended action to dissolve the 2 ad hoc committees. And this includes the Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Ad Hoc Committee, which primarily focuses on the funding and updates on the enhancement project. The next one would be the Buena Vista Lagoon Cattail Control Ad Hoc Committee. A brief overview of this request. These were originally formed more than 3 years ago. The original organization was understood to be a temporary measure to ensure deadlines were being met. At our May 20th meeting of last year, Mayor Sanchez made a request to add this as a future agenda item to dissolve these committees, as they were intended to be temporary. And for any future updates with these items, staff is happy to bring them forward, or we can have a special meeting to discuss the items that may come up during either one of those issues. So again, the recommended action before you today is to dissolve the 2 ad hoc committees. And I'll open to any questions you may have.
Thank you. More often than not, these committee meetings were canceled. And so over time, initially, we had a really tight schedule. We were all trying to get onto, say, the next stage in these phases for the restoration project. And so it seemed that it would be better for us to maybe call either a special meeting or have a Mayor Keith Blackburn and I meet with, say, Sandag, Caltrans, and the Wildlife Agency. And so it seemed a better way to move forward. So again, last year, I don't even know if we met once. No, I don't think we did. So that is my motion, that we dissolve them so that we don't have to have that formally on our calendars. And if anything, if we were in need of a special meeting, we will definitely call folks to a meeting, mindful that the last Thursday of, the fourth Thursday of each month is something that most of us are available on that date. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to old business, item number 5. And this is why we're really here, right? So A is a Lagoon Enhancement Project, technical studies performed, and it's an update by Sandag, and Kim Smith is here. So welcome, Kim Smith. Thank you very much for all of your work on this. For our new person, Councilmember Shin, do you have another title? I haven't caught up with any titles. No, not yet. Okay.
I think that's good.
Okay. This is hopefully going to be exciting. Thank you. Ms. Smith?
So real quick, I'll just do a quick introduction
Yes.
again for the item. The recommended action is to receive an informal report on the Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Project, technical studies performed. Brief overview of the last several years. These are some of the meetings that Ms. Smith or other staff from Sandag has provided to the committee. Most recently, May 20th, 2024, and last 2 years ago in March of 2023. And so I'd like to hand it over to Ms. Smith for her presentation.
How do I? Oh, I'm on? Perfect. Good morning, members of the committee. Again, my name is Kim Smith. I'm a senior planner with Sandag. I manage our environmental mitigation program and all things having to do with habitat conservation. It's been a while since I think almost a year now since I've been in front of the committee to give an update, and we've been diligently working on the 2 grants that we received. Just for your reference, back in 2021, we received 2 different grants, one from the Wildlife Conservation Board and one from CDFW Prop 1, both funds totaling about $4 million to begin the design and engineering phase of the restoration project. Unfortunately, those funds, that $4 million, only gets us up to about 65% design. So over the past year and a half, we've been working on the design. We've done some refinements to the design. We've done a lot of technical studies. They were out in the lagoon doing the geotech borings. They've done the sediment analysis plan, all the vegetation surveys, and now in the fall, they began the modeling, both the fluvial and tidal modeling for the enhancement project. We're anticipating our 30% design will be wrapping up in April. We were a little delayed with the modeling, but they are moving forward. 65% design is going to begin beginning of the summer, and then we hope to finish that up at the end of December. Our grants end in January of 2026, so we're on a tight time frame. In between 30% and 65%, we will be coming back to the stakeholder groups to show them, what we've been doing, where we are, what the design looks like. So there'll be opportunities for both the cities, the Buena Vista Lagoon Foundation, the agencies to take a look at our progress. We're also cognizant that it only gets us to 65% design, so we estimate we need about between 5 and 6 million to get us to a shovel-ready project. That means we need to complete 65% design, final engineering. We still need to do permitting and NEPA clearance. So we keep plugging away at looking at potential funding. We were confident we were going to get some additional Prop 1 funding last summer. That didn't come in. We are, through Congressman Levin's office, we have a federal earmark of a little over $1 million that I believe we're waiting to hear about sometime in March. So that will get us halfway, kind of a little bit into the design. We just met a couple weeks ago with CDFW. They let us know that the Prop 50 money, they have some of it. They have about 8 or 9 million left in that fund that they have to spend. It's supposed to go to the Buena wetlands up in Orange County, but they encouraged us to put in a pre-proposal application again, and that it seemed like it would be a good fit for this gap funding. And then there's also the Prop 4 money that they are encouraging us to apply for. There's not a lot of information out there yet, but CDFW said that there should be something coming out within the next couple of months on what that will look like. So we'll definitely be following that. With that, we have not identified any funds yet for construction. Construction's estimated at about $90 to $100 million. So that's a big item that once we get the project shovel ready, or before that, we need to work with both cities and the department to figure out how we're going to fund that. So that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to come back in the future with more of a PowerPoint presentation, kind of giving you the background, if that would be something you'd be interested in. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Questions? Any questions? Yes.
Since I'm new, just the
Councilman Shin.
correlation for Sandag in regards to this project and the future plans for like a 78.5 interchange, is there discussion?
Yeah, there has been discussion. So originally, this project was included in the Public Works Plan for the larger I-5 North Coast Corridor program. It was one of 2 lagoons that was included for, they call it regional net benefit. We moved forward with, at the time, San Elijo Lagoon Restoration Project was a little bit further along. It had environmental clearance, so we moved forward with that as our net benefit. So at this time, we don't think we need this project as mitigation per se, but there's also community enhancement opportunity to include this project. So we have been speaking with Caltrans on the timing of the 578 and the managed lanes and when they're going to, because a component of the project, we could phase it to begin sooner, because we need that bridge widened over I-5, right, to complete the overall enhancement project. So we're definitely, Caltrans is on board as far as like looking at what that looks like with the timing of the 578 and the bridge, the optimized bridge.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. So at one time, it seemed like if we were to get it shovel-ready, we could get it on the Public Works list. And I think that's what we were moving toward. That's why we were trying to apply to all these places. What about the Coastal Conservancy?
Do you mean like grant funding through them?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that's something we need to look into. I just don't know if that price tag is, it's going to be hard to piecemeal it. We kind of need a big.
Right, for the, to get it shovel-ready.
Oh, grants through the Coastal Conservancy?
Yes.
We did apply 2 or 3 years ago and we weren't successful, but that's something we can also look into.
My recollection is that the EIR started, the funding initially was through Coastal Conservancy, and they got to the point where they wanted to just move forward on a preferred alternative, and that's where they withdrew from the project, at least the funding. And so that's when we eventually were able to get Sandag on board to help us to work not only to get through the EIR, but to also work collaboratively with all the stakeholders. And I thought that was very, very successful. But if we could go back to Coastal Conservancy and see if they're now on board with this, I think it was a great solution to everyone's like needs for the lagoon.
We did approach them last summer to ask potential grant funding. There was both the Wildlife Conservation Board, CDFW, and Coastal Conservancy, I think it was last spring, gave a workshop about their future grant funds. So we were, hey, let's meet with all of you and see what we can do. And we approached them end of the summer, and they pretty much said they didn't have funding for this project. So I'm happy to reach back out because things change.
That would be great. I think both mayors would be willing to fly out to wherever we need to fly out to get those funds, because we're really, at this point, I think, kind of anxious to get this moving faster. But this project is not exactly tied to the I-578, correct? This could move on.
Yeah, it's going to have
forward.
its own permits, so it could move on independently.
Okay. Because one of the issues that I did get a chance to talk to Keith, and one of the issues he brought up was that there would need to be someone whose name would be on the permits. And I did ask if it would be possible to have, if it wasn't going to be Sandag, could it be the city of Oceanside? Or one of the cities or both of the cities. And I think the response was yes, it could. So there are things I think we need to look at, but I think we need to hear from, see how we can get together and figure out steps to move this along as quickly as possible, because I feel like there's been a kind of a slow piece here for this past year. And I am concerned that this would be tied to a project that is the I-578 that could take, they're barely starting the environmental studies, and they're talking about maybe 5 years out to finish. So there's no way that, I don't think any of us want to wait 5 years just to see what the preferred alternative is going to be, right? So I think it's, if we can get all of us together, including the new person who has replaced Ed Pert, Mayor Blackburn, if we could get you there as well, and even though it's not like an ad hoc committee, but trying to see how we can actually move this along, and be able to lobby for this, maybe even as a regional project, North Coastal Regional Project. This is something that is really critical, I think, for the cities of Oceanside and Carlsbad. And it once upon a time was also critical to the city of Vista, believe it or not. It was actually all three of our cities that were in this Joint Powers Committee. And so now it's just the two of us. But it also impacts Vista. If we can work at getting such a meeting together with everyone, and so the topics would be getting this shovel ready. That, what did you say, $4 million?
It's
right?
between 5 and 6.
$5 and $6 million. And then how we can move this forward independent of whatever other projects. I understand that even like City of Oceanside's priority is to have the HOV lanes go through Oceanside, right, in terms of Sandag. But that would not impact this project at all. So I do feel very strongly, I think the community does too, that we really need to see how we can move forward. And that this project was not included as part of the mitigation for this area was something that we knew that timing was off. But if we can get this on a public works project and maybe see where else in in, Caltrans land in California, we could possibly get some funding to phase it, it would be fantastic. So,
I agree with everything Esther just said. The thing that grabs me most is that old joke, nothing happens quickly in government. 16 years ago, I was a new councilman and I was assigned to this. And here it is 16 years later, and we're still talking about where to go. So I think we need to have somebody guide us and to get us to where we need to be, because we seem to be flailing. Anything that's going on for 16 years seems to be just too long.
we did get the EIR done, though.
Yeah, but, and let me give credit to Esther. I was brand new in the room. We had more, how do they say, too many cooks in the kitchen? We had several county, several state organizations, several federal organizations, all pulling in different directions, some folding their arms saying, if it doesn't go our way, then we're going to say no. Esther decided to take control, and thanks to Sandag, they decided to take the lead. I think it was Keith at the time. So now here we are 16 years later. We just need some guidance. We just need to be told what to do next, and let's just do it. Whether it means us going to Sacramento, going to Washington, wherever. So please help us get to the finish line.
I think Sandag would be happy to do that. As far as, next steps, I'd be happy to work with you guys to set up a future meeting so we can discuss and come back with more information on the viability of some of these grants.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And this was actually a presentation so that we all know where we are and where we need to, the general direction moving forward, and the issues that are there to get through. And I definitely want this, have a groundbreaking before I leave office for this project. Huh? No?
I'll say,
You guys didn't hear that, did you?
if I'm here 16 years from now and this is the same situation we're in, I'm going to replay what Keith just said.
No, we do appreciate all of your efforts. I know staff has been trying to figure this out, and but it is worthy. It is such a wonderful project, and as we will hear on our next presentation, this is something that the community is really getting involved in. I know on the part of Oceans, but also on the part of Carlsbad. So thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Any other comments from staff at this point? Ms. Timberlake?
The only comment I wanted to make was potentially we could collaboratively think about assisting Sandag with grant writing capabilities. So maybe if they're, at capacity and they need a little assistance and maybe some guidance, maybe grant writing could be an option that we could offer. And I just wanted to make sure I made that comment.
Thank you. Very welcome comment, too. We really want to make application everywhere, and also encourage folks to see this as something that needs to be done earlier than later. Yeah, that it shouldn't be put off until some other future time, that the I-578 finally gets some kind of resolution. Or even on the 78, extending out on the managed lanes there. So thank you very much. All right, the next item is, under old business, is Wetlands Reserve Restoration Project update, and we do have Natalie Shapiro here. Staff.
Okay, fantastic. So item 5B here is going to be the Buena Vista Audubon Society's Wetland Reserve Coastal Habitat Restoration and Resiliency Project. Recommended action today is to receive an informal report on the Buena Vista Audubon Society's Wetland Reserve Coastal Habitat Restoration and Resiliency Project. Brief overview from the last few years here. Back to November 21st of 22, this is when Ms. Shapiro presented the preliminary designs to the committee, up until most recently when she talked about the permits being submitted in March of last year. And so now I'd like to turn over to Ms. Natalie Shapiro from the Executive Director of the Buena Vista Audubon Society for her presentation.
Thank you. I think I can figure this out. Thank you for setting this up, and thank you to the JPC committee for allowing me to give some updates. So I'm just going to give some updates, a little bit of a background over the last year, and also where we're at right now and future progress. So I think everybody knows where it's located. The project site is right on the north shore of the Buena Vista Lagoon, right across the street from our nature center in South Oceanside. And real briefly, the project goals are habitat improvement, water quality improvement issues. A big thing we've heard from the community is maintaining coastal access. So we'll not only maintain coastal access, but improve it. Reconnecting indigenous peoples to their historic lands and integrating the local communities to the area. And accommodating for sea level rise and tying it in with the larger Buena Vista Lagoon enhancement project. So the project footprint's just under 6 acres, and the slide here shows the land ownership. So outlined in red, I think you can see it on the slide, is the land that's about 3.5 acres that Buena Vista Audubon has title to. You can see it's, I think that, I don't have a pointer that works, but the Coast Highway, you can see that to the right. Oh, thank you. Okay, to the right. And the Nature Center is just to the right, that little arrow. So outlined in red is our land, and then there's 3 little blue areas I think you can see on the map that the city of Oceanside owns, but it's rolled into the project footprint. So one, Nick, if you can see the Eaton Alley to the blue, yeah, that line right there, that's an alley off Eaton Street that we are including in the project for improving the quality of the alley, which I'll show a slide a little bit later. And then along Eaton Street at the north part of the project is a little strip along Eaton Street that we'll be using in the project. And then further down to the right, there's a blue thin triangle area, which is City of Oceanside land that we'll be using for landscaping as part of the project. South of the red line outlined in yellow is Fish and Wildlife state-owned land, which will be part of the project footprint. That's a little over 2 acres. So there's issues, and I think everybody's been there and knows there's a lot of invasive plants, the ice plants going out of control. There's Bermuda grass. There's very little habitat that's adequate for wildlife and for just a pleasant place for the community to be. There is a trail that's shown in the bottom right slide. It's very sandy from, it's accumulated erosion runoff from water running down the streets and carrying soil from the nearby railroad berm. So it's not very pleasant to walk on, so it's not a real trail. There's also a historic loss of wetlands from fill placed in the wetlands years ago for development. And so the photos show some of the erosion issues. So our project will address these issues. So here's the grading plan. So if you look in the very bottom part, that rectangular area that's Fish and Wildlife owned land, our plan is to do grading within that area to expand and enhance the wetlands in the project area. So this will also cause a transitional area for future conditions. So when the larger Buena Vista Lagoon project is completed, it'll tie in with that. And also for sea level rise, as sea level rise continues, we need to plan for the future. So the fill that's removed as part of the grading will be placed in the uplands area, and that'll be where a trail will be relocated. And then we're expecting that there'll be sand underneath the fill, that there'll be sand that's adequate for exporting to the area beaches. And this is a map showing the types of habitats. So once the project's completed, you see the The blue is the open water areas and those new wetland fingers I mentioned in the grading plan, and the green is freshwater marsh. So this will still be under current conditions with the lagoon. This is before the Buena Vista Lagoon is complete, so it's still freshwater system rather than saltwater. And then there'll be other habitats north of that green area, coastal sage scrub, sand dunes, and other habitats. And then the brown line you see there is the trail, and I'll explain that in this next slide. There's also, you can see some water quality features that are white with little brown dots. Those will be bioswales and riprap to help filter water and erosion that before it gets into the lagoon. So I mentioned sea level rise. So it's a complicated project because we're planning for right now and for future conditions. So the previous slide showed where the new habitat would be once the project's completed. And then once the larger lagoon is implemented, the water level will drop in the lagoon from excavation, opening it up to the ocean. About 7 feet is what it's predicted to be. So the wetlands on our wetland reserve project site will shrink. And then with sea level rise, it'll rise again. So these are models that we got from the Sandag hydrologists. So we've been working very closely with Sandag and their engineers and hydrologists to make sure that we have the best possible data and that both projects integrate together. So these modeling maps are based off that data.
This is a transition from fresh to salt.
Right. So, okay, let me go to the previous slide. Right. So this would, so this map shows like it's still fresh water. So the green would show the extent. So by grading the wetlands, we deepen the wetlands on the wetland reserve. So it'll still be fresh water, but it'll be expanded more. And then the slide to the left, that'll be once the lagoon is transitioned to salt water. So the water level will drop. And from the next two slides, of course, it'll be salt water, but with sea level rise. Excuse me. Sea level rise predicted that water levels will rise. Water quality features, the lagoon is listed as impaired on the state water quality listing of water bodies that have issues. And in this case, it's largely sediment, nutrients, and bacteria. So we really want to make sure we do what we can to protect the lagoon from further incursions of sediment and pollution inputs. So at the end of Broadway Street, there's a big runoff, and you can see that lower right side. That's what it looks like after a heavy rain. Carries soil and pollutants into the lagoon. So the left-hand slide depicts the erosion control features we have planned, where we divert all the water to the an area with gravel to the right, and then it filters down into some rock riprap before it gets to the lagoon. And then on Eaton Street, the alley I mentioned earlier, and that slide to the right shows what it looks like now and after a rain. So that will again be a rock riprap feature at the top of the alley. They'll divert the water down a long bioswale. There'll be like a dry stream bed as it can filter as it moves along, and then it collects, and it's a little difficult to see in the slide, but at the corner, there's a bioretention basin that captures the water from the Eaton Alley and a storm drain from neighbors to the right, or I'm sorry, to the left, and then it drains into the lagoon. So this is the plan to help reduce pollutant load to the lagoon. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the community really wants to ensure They have maintained access and improved access. So the trail is moved up and it'll be ADA accessible. It'll have DG as a surface, and there'll be 3 entry points. So at the end of Broadway to the left, that'll be an entry point. And what we hear from the community is they really like a viewing area of the lagoon. When you're at the end of Broadway, it's just phenomenal, beautiful view. But the neighbors said, well, we would love a viewing area, but could you move it away from our houses as much as possible? And that makes sense. There's a lot of issues of people partying and hanging out. So that's why the design is the way it is. So we created a raised viewing area, and you see it kind of ends, and that'll be a viewing area with interpretive signs. And then it connects with the rest of the trail. Another entry point is at the end of Eaton, the alley coming down from Eaton. And then we're working with the city on a future crosswalk. I'm not sure where the process is right now, but we would like it to be near the nature center. Right now, people park at the nature center and dash across Coast Highway back and forth.
Very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite frightening, in fact. So something, and this is not just, I mean, we have people from the fishing community that park at the nature center and run across to do fishing at the bridge. So it's all sorts of people use that, and I see people with buckets running across, do fishing, and we have programs with children and indigenous elders, and it's, we need a safe way of crossing. So that's something we're working on. And I want to mention our partnership with indigenous peoples. So they've been with us as part of this project from the beginning, and how to make this a project that includes indigenous people. So plants that are important to indigenous people are included in the plants list for the habitat restoration. And then what we were hearing is it's very important to regain access to their ancestral lands for healing. So a gathering area is important. And we understand it's not a large space, so it wouldn't, we can't have a huge area for gathering, but there's something. So we're working with them on identifying what that would look like, and that's where the trails converge right now. Seems to be something that is good for everybody. So so benefits, I mentioned all the benefits: water quality, improved access, habitat. So where are we at right now? So we have full funding all the way to shovel ready, which is really good news. And permits, in January, we received the certified CEQA document and the local coastal program permit from the city of Oceanside. And where we're at right now is because there's multiple jurisdictions. We're working with the city of Carlsbad for permitting with them. We're working with Jamie Timberlake on the sand replenishment permit through the city of Oceanside, various resource agencies, and we're preparing for a consolidated coastal development permit with the Coastal Commission because it covers various jurisdictions. So that's the way we were hoping to go, consolidating the permits. So there's a lot of pieces to this project, but it's moving really well. And that's my presentation. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes.
Just in regards to when it gets transferred from freshwater, saltwater, what year are we anticipating that project to take place?
Well, I'm sorry.
What year are we anticipating that project
It
to
kind of
take place?
depends on the larger lagoon. When that, we don't know. That depends on when the larger lagoon project is implemented. So that would.
I just bring it up because I just wonder, are things going to take place with the natural habitat of the plants when it transfers from it absorbing from fresh to seawater? Are we going to anticipate that and have to almost budget to kind of redevelop the area with its vegetation?
That's a good question because, yeah, right, when the, so part of our plants plan is what plants, planting now, there are plants that are, they can only be in fresh water, but transitioning will be saltwater. So, right, so we'll want to build in some funding to transition the plants. And we're looking at the San Elijo Lagoon as a model for how they did, it's always been saltwater, but looking at sea level rise and what plants are in that zone that water level changes. So there's some plants that probably can handle both saltwater and freshwater, and otherwise we'll have to do some replantings. But yeah, we've been trying to figure that out too, because it's a little tricky. But
Mr. Stimmel?
Is the possibility that a crosswalk is a separate item that could happen faster than the entire project?
it would be really good to have that a faster item. For one, it would help us plan the trail, like where the trail actually, so where the trail, let me see if I can go back to that. Right now, the trail, this is good, right? Yeah, right now the trail, and you see on the right, it just sort of dead ends. We would like to know where it actually ends to tie in with the crosswalk. And also the sooner the better, because nobody's been hurt or killed yet, but it's just a matter of time. We have a group of people that are crossing and everyone's trying to pay attention, but all it takes is one car going fast and there goes, a group of kids. So, yeah.
Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We have no request to speak.
Okay, thank you. Does staff have anything, Ms. Timberlake? Do you know what the status is of the crosswalk?
I didn't get a recent update from CIP engineering staff on the crosswalk, but the last that I heard, it was slated to go up at Eaton Street, and that's because we wanted to put a lighting element to the crosswalk, and where the trail terminus is, it sometimes floods from rain and from high tide, high storm surge events. And so we didn't want to put a lighting element in a place where it floods, so we wanted to put it up by Eaton Street. But that was maybe 4 months ago, so I'm not sure where we're
Right.
at with that at this point.
Because I know that there were the issues of the flooding, but to encourage people to use it would have to be close enough to where they want to be able to cross. So to do it at Eaton, I think we were saying, well, if you do it there, people probably will not be using it because that's a bit to go up a hill and then cross over and then go down, right? So if it was closer, I know that we're talking about somewhere that would not be an actual crosswalk with like the idea being, streets that end and then there's somewhere for cars to travel. It would probably have to be more like mid-street, or as high as it has to be in terms of making sure that it's not in a flood area, or potentially in a flood area, I guess, so that there would be some lighting, and maybe something to alert people, before that there's going to be a crosswalk there. But that will be. Well, I guess we'll be talking about that during Oceanside's budget hearing on the CIP projects, but it would be wonderful. I know that there are folks that are already crossing there, right, including the tribe, the Santa Maria Band of Mission Indians, who have really adopted this as something for the tribe to, for even like a sacred site and a gathering site, but as well as some of the practices for basket weaving, et cetera. Right now, it's, as I understand it, it's you wouldn't be able to use anything there now, but sometime in the future.
Thank you, Mayor Sanchez. I'd like to add that I've asked people, including our indigenous elders, if they would go up to Eaton to cross, and they said no. And it would preclude people with mobility challenges. There's enough of a hill, and I've seen people struggling going up the hill, and large groups of children as well. Just so that's my observation.
I'm wondering if there's any opportunity to work with Carlsbad in slowing down the traffic there. I know there have been on where the circle is. There have been some issues, right? And people trying to get through there really quickly and some accidents. So,
Where we catch our drunk drivers.
Oh, wow.
really? But if we could do something, I know that what city is it that is going to be doing a lot of slowing down within its like busy parts of its downtown area? They're talking about slowing down. I think is it San Diego? Some parts of San Diego where they're talking about slowing down the traffic. I don't know what what methods they're planning on using, or maybe they haven't really decided what methods yet, but I think this is a really important place to figure out how to slow down the traffic. And I'm wondering if there's anything on the other side, of Carlsbad side, that there's some opportunities for doing something similar on the other side? Do you know,
When you say
Mayor?
other side, are you talking about
on the Carlsbad side?
of the circle?
Yeah,
Or
well,
is it
more where the
crosswalk?
lagoon is.
Well, the circle was our attempt to slow traffic down.
Right.
Any further, I can't imagine what more we could do. It's just a nice, beautiful straightaway, and it
Yeah, it is nice
invites
straightaway.
cars to go fast.
I wonder if there are any ways to slow down that traffic with putting raised box dots or signage or whatever. Certainly can't be lights because until it's raised, right? And that is raising that street. Is that part of the project, the Lagoon restoration project? It is, isn't it? Yeah. So at some point, it's not going to have that issue, but right now, we have to deal with that.
What's the speed limit on the road through there?
35.
I think an inexpensive attempt would be to paint on the roadway a reminder that says 35 mph in both directions.
I wonder if it could be 25.
I think that's up to traffic and engineering
Right.
issues, but I think that it would probably be an inexpensive reminder to people, rather than them looking for a sign to see how fast it is. Just paint it on the roadway, 35 mph, just like you would a stop sign
Right.
kind of lettering. And just as a reminder, because that is a perfect straightaway, and it is easy to get going much over 35.
Right. And you and I kind of were in the courts having to do with, well, what should it be or what can it be in order to be able to affect a stop and to hold up in court, right? That kind of a thing. I think they're doing things differently now.
I think it still has to have a traffic and engineering certificate.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that there are some cities that are now starting to try to just slow things down regardless of how we've done it in the past in trying to slow things down. I know that in Oceanside, people are starting to ask as well, nope, you can do this. You just try to figure out different ways of doing it. And I know narrowing streets, this is already pretty narrow, but how we can slow the traffic here for more of a public safety, which I think ends up being a higher policy to address. Yeah. Anyone else? Ask-
Well, Natalie, if you like, I could ask our traffic and traffic division to consider and come back and tell me if it's even legal for us to put 35-mile-an-hour paint on the roadway, just as a reminder, if that's something you'd like to see.
Thank you. That would be helpful. I from my observations, just sometimes there's that lighted device that tells people how fast they're going to help slow down. I don't see that. Just from being there a lot, I see people just, as you mentioned, it's like a raceway, and so it could help. I don't know if there's ways to slow down traffic by putting those things that force you to move, go slowly. I forgot what they're called, but they stick out. I don't know if, some structural solution, because people see that as a raceway and it seems like a historic stretch. So, I mean, that could help, but I feel like something more might be needed.
I do remember when it was a A&W right there on the other side where that burger place is, and there was nothing after that. It was just nothing on the other side too. So yeah, I
Wow.
do remember probably driving a little faster to get to the other side. You
So
know,
it's like a nice stretch, straight stretch.
right? But these are different times now. There's a lot of interest in the lagoon and the future trails, and it'd be nice to see how we can get this affected in phases, especially now since you are working on it, on the restoration. Yeah. Well, thank you. Any other comments? None. Okay. Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Natalie. Staff, any other comments? No? Okay. So we're at 6, committee member comments. Any comments by our committee members? No? Well, our next meeting then is May 22nd, which is the 4th Thursday of the month, and it'll be in Oceanside. And it's a Thursday, so we'll try to see if we can get you some reserved spots to park in, because that's the day that we have our market. All right, and okay, so I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.